we all have regrets. We all have things that we wish we would have known sooner or we would have done earlier in order to prevent any sort of issues later on down the line. And so I thought it'd be interesting to talk about what things that I wish I would have learned before going to college and exactly what I could have done differently in order to prevent that from happening. So with that, let's get into it. Hello everyone, for those who are new here, my name is Sarah and I'm currently a software engineer. Now I'm just going to get right into the video. The very first thing that I would say that I wish I would have known before college is to decide on a major. I was someone who was very wishy-washy at the time. I didn't know what exactly I wanted to major in. And so because of that, I ended up going for what was called exploratory STEM for my freshman year. And what you do is you take multiple courses that are STEM related. So you take programming, you take math, you take science classes, and you take introductory courses to each of those fields. From there, you can decide what you want to major in as you become a sophomore. Now, the idea sounds really neat. It sounds cool that you can look at different areas in the field. However, I was taking courses as a freshman that had nothing to do with that degree. And it ended up hurting me in the long run because I had to catch up and make up courses that I didn't take my freshman year when I was a sophomore or when I was a junior. I also had to take more courses than normal. The limit was 22 credit hours, I believe, and I took that for a good year or 2 years. And I also had to take summer classes so that I had the prerequisites necessary in order to enroll in the classes for the fall semester, because those classes specifically were only in the fall. Graduation would have been another year or 2 years had I not increased my course load each semester and taken those summer courses. So that really hurt because it was very stressful for those couple years, and it was much more difficult to navigate which class I needed to take when, because I wasn't following the standard rule book or guide for all computer engineers, which classes you should take your freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year. And I had to visit my advisor multiple times during the semesters in order to make sure that I was still on track with my peers and was able to graduate in 4 years. Number 2 is I wish I would have known the benefit of dual credit classes. So when I was in high school, I wanted to just focus on that particular class, take what I was supposed to, not worry about trying to take like a AP level class or a dual credit class. And now I really wish that I would have taken that dual credit class because I would have been able to accumulate some credits, and by the time I was in college, I would have maybe been able to graduate in 2 or 3 years instead of 4 years. So that again also hurt me in the long run because I had to take those extra courses. I always think to myself, if I had taken a dual credit class for math or for calculus, I wouldn't have to take calculus 1 or maybe calculus 2 in college, and that would have saved me a lot of stress, money, and time. And so that's something else. If you happen to still be in high school, then look into dual credit classes. Look into that because it's very important, especially if you want to get a college degree and you're interested in engineering. Having some credits under your belt will really help you, and you might be able to graduate sooner than you think. The next one is not knowing enough about college tuition. Now, when I graduated high school, I could only think about going out of state. I just wanted to get out of where I was living and find and meet new people, be involved in that community, and be forced to interact with others living in the dorms. So I didn't really think at all about community college or in-state college, and I definitely didn't think about the tuition. I knew the tuition was there, but in my mind, I didn't really see it as something to worry about because I never had to worry about it. And because of that, I did go out of state for my first year in college, and I went to ASU, and the tuition there was around $30K for the year. And this could have easily been avoided had I just decided to go in-state. Luckily, my parents were able to cover the cost, so there wasn't any sort of financial struggle or financial issues that came of this decision. However, I am aware that it could have easily been a huge financial mistake. It did affect my education and the difficulty of my courses. So similar to that exploratory STEM where I, took a bunch of courses that I didn't need to, that weren't part of my actual major later on. I also was taking classes at ASU that didn't transfer over to UNM. And so because of that, those credits didn't count towards my degree, and that time and the money spent on those classes was basically pointless. And it's something that I'm like, darn, I really wish I would have just stuck to UNM or even the community college here in New Mexico. so that I could just transfer those credits over and I would be able to save some time and money. I just wish I would have known more about college tuition and in-state college as well as community college, and how that can be much cheaper and much more affordable than going out of state, and much more practical as well. And so the next thing I wish I would have known before college is to be friends with the professor as well as the TAs, also known as teacher assistants, because they are the ones that are there all the time. They're the ones who know the course. They've either taken it previously or they are just an expert in it and they're able to help you out. So if you are friends with them or if you talk to them, it'll make the class much easier in that they will either help you answer the questions or they will give you some slack because they know who you are and they know that you're trying, so they won't be as harsh on the grading. I didn't do this until my senior year when I was really struggling in these classes, and I had to spend a lot of time working on some homework assignments or lab work, and I got to know the TAs during that time and they helped me. Had I known that sooner, that would have definitely made class less stressful. It would have made the work less time consuming, and I would have had more free time to relax or to, just hang out. So that's one other thing, is to really get to know the TAs, be friends with them if you can, and also be on the good side of the professor. Show that you're interested in the actual work that they're talking about. The next thing I wish I would have known before college is that you don't need to buy the textbooks. At least 80-90% of the time, you can find them online unless the professor requires some QR code or some sort of scanner in order to access a website and complete problems about that particular chapter. Then I would definitely buy the book, because that's what you'd be paying for ultimately. If the professor is just suggesting a book, you really don't need to buy it. You could either find it online at a reduced price so that you're able to get a better deal, because those books at the bookstore are hundreds of dollars. And I think that that's just a huge waste of money and something that's just not necessary, especially if you're just going to return it the next semester, or you'll just throw it away. From what I noticed, the professors just ask you questions that they had covered in the slides during lecture. So as long as you have the slides available or you're able to take notes during the lecture and can review that information for a test or for a quiz, then you'll be okay. So the last thing that I wish I'd known before college is to not take any classes early in the morning unless you're an early bird. I took one class my freshman year and it was at 7:45 in the morning. And at the time I was thinking, oh, that's fine. In high school, I woke up at 6:30 and I had to be there at 7 and the class started at 7:15. So that's okay. I could take one at 7:30. It won't be that bad. Well, it turns out it was actually really bad. The coursework that I had was intense. It was much more intense than high school. So I didn't really have time to do anything else other than to do my homework, go to sleep, and then wake up early the next morning. And had I just chosen a class later on in the day, it would have been a lot better, because I would have been able to get more sleep in, or I would have been able to spend more time working on my homework or hanging out with friends later on. But because I had that class at 7:30 in the morning, I had to wake up super early. I ended up feeling really tired and had to take naps during the day just to recover from waking up early. So it was something that I'm like, I wish I wouldn't have done that. And that was the only time I ever had a class that early. So if you are in college or you're going to be in college, just don't get any classes super early in the morning unless you do wake up that early to begin with. Otherwise, find one later in the day. There's a lot of classes out there, and I'm sure you're able to find one. Especially nowadays, you could easily find one that's online as well. So yeah, those are all the things I wish I'd known before college in order to make life a lot easier. And if you're in college now, or you plan on being in college and getting a degree in engineering, for example, then I hope this video will be helpful for you. And if it is, please give it a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more, please subscribe. And yeah, thank you for watching. Bye.